We as a species are divided many times over by arbitrary lines and categorizations we place upon ourselves and upon one another. Are you black or are you white? Are you red or are you blue? Are you Christian or are you heathen? Are you Catholic or are you Protestant? Are you American or are you Cuban, Mexican, Haitian, Chinese, Filipino? Are you rich or are you poor? These determinations are detrimental to the advancements that we as a species could make, and yet our propensities for doing so are deeply ingrained within us. We are social creatures, and as such it is within our nature to gather. And when we gather, we tend to gather with those that are most like ourselves and gravitate away from those most unlike ourselves. If we stand out too much from the group of which we are currently a part, we will be outcast from this group. This is human nature. This is where problems arise. This is the essence of the we versus they war that has been waged since humans have been hunting and gathering. We have only technologically progressed. We have not made much headway in terms of advancing and refining our nature as a species, which we could do if we were to make a concentrated and conscious effort. The invisible lines in the sand, the invisible gods that wage war in our minds, the arbitrary delineations that based upon melanin content of the skin or upon sexual gametes or how many pieces of a special type of paper one owns. These are problems we can overcome, though not without a great effort. If we wish to change these things, we will have to do something fundamentally different and radical, something that has not been done before in the history for as long as these problems have existed. It will take a polar shift in perspective before the elimination of these problems will be possible. Though there are problems with this, that people fear change and the unknown. This is a part of human nature. Though irrational, since the entire world is in a constant state of flux. There is no constant, though this is a desire of many people as evidenced by the creation of heaven. And you will get to be with your family and with God and forever and ever, and streets will be paved with gold, and there will be rivers of milk and honey, and the sun will always shine. But in reality, food and money is not always plentiful, family is lost to death, and you can't see God. When I think about the most painful times for myself personally, they tend to come about when something changes that I would rather stay the same. I lose a loved one, someone breaks up with me, and so on. A lot of times I hear people profess that, I don't know what I would do if this person died. My first thought is, they will. Prepare for that eventuality now. As Phil Hellenes noted in a recent video, I suspect that this fear of the unknown came about while humans were striving to survive in the darkness of night, in the midst of their wild, amongst the creatures that are a lot more adapted to the environment. During these times, 100,000 years ago, we had fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, because it was necessary to live in the face of the many dangers of the wilderness without the knowledge that has been gained slowly and painfully over thousands of years. We now know more about the world. We are learning more with each passing day. We can now take conscious steps towards controlling and overcoming the instincts that are bred within us, that we pass down to our children. This fear of change, the new, and the unknown will have to be addressed and overcome if we wish to make mental process and mental progress. Another fear is the fear of ostracism. When you are a part of a group, there's a solidarity that makes you feel quite good. It can also be almost addictive. This is also a part of our nature, more than likely stemming from the safety in numbers instinct that animals tend to exhibit. And while a part of a group, people tend to mimic one another, imitating the others in the group and not really standing out too much from the social mores said group has established, either verbally or non-verbally. If the mores of the group are broken by an individual, the group casts out the transgressor. Sometimes penance can be made and sometimes not. This can be witnessed in high schools around the country, though in its most juvenile of forms. Upon maturing, though, these actions do not cease. They're simply a bit more elaborate. We tend to make up rationalizations for our shunning of others. He isn't a Christian anymore, so we shan't associate with him any longer, lest his destiny of hellfire consume us as well.
If you find one that worships another god, you shall take him to the outskirts of the city and stone him.
She doesn't dress the way that we do anymore. I shan't be seen in public with her.
She does not share my sexuality, thus she is a deviant in comparison to me.
Ostracism can come about from any group in which you are a part, be it professional, academic, religious, friendly, or family-based, and can be quite stressful when it occurs for whatever reason.
Many times, I've heard it come about simply because of a person striving to be themselves, hence the phrase, "I would rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." How many people conform to the expectations that others place upon them? I argue that many feel this way, at least until they internalize the ways that others think about them. If you constantly tell a child that she is a genius, she will believe it, and become a genius much of the time. Likewise, if you tell a child they are stupid, the child will eventually accept this judgment as true. We are mentally porous, and our environment is absorbed into our mind, our thoughts, and our actions in kind. We also have our own mental assessment of ourselves, and who we are tends to fall somewhere in between what others expect from us and from what we expect from ourselves. Other people do have control over you up to a degree. The only thing in debate is how much control. I suspect that our fear of being outcast comes from the distant past, when those that were exiled from a tribe were certain to die, since the only way to survive in earlier days was with strength of numbers, without which the outcast will become easy prey to beast and to hunger, among other things. This is not the case anymore. We have, for the most part, wholly changed the environment in which we live and must now go about changing and adapting our mental processes in kind. It will take time, effort, and discipline, just as any worthwhile action does. We are more than capable of doing so. The choice is up to each individual. Will we continue to repeat the same actions and repeat the cycles of history, or will we endeavor to enhance and advance our methods of thought and social interactions? The choice is up to you.